All right, so as I had shared at the end of last week's call, this call is on the Bodolab products, specifically the Deserticola hair care products, and we are going to bolster that conversation with an understanding of hair physiology. There is so much going on with your hair strands, both the living and dead parts of it, the chemical aliveness of the entirety of it. How can your products interact with these different platforms to create beautiful and healthy hair? So when we take a look at your hair, rather at a glance, we have approximately 5 million hair follicles. And of course, this is an approximate. You can have more, you can have less. There are many different types of hair situations, so to speak. It itself is a flexible and thin keratin thread. And keratin is a protein. And so it has great strength and great elasticity. And it's present on almost all surfaces of the human skin, except for the vermilion zones like our lips, certain parts of the body like the palms and the soles of the feet, but it offers so many different benefits to our body. Of course, largely it is fantastic for cosmetic appearance and for self-expression as well, based on how you style it or color it, but can also protect against external elements, thermoregulate, and even UV protection, especially with the hair on your scalp. Now, in the importance of understanding what your hair is doing for your body, and of course, what it is doing for your confidence, there's also the understanding that when things go wrong, there of course can be a lot of different consequences to that. So if your hair growth is unbalanced, if the structure of a follicle is unbalanced, there can be a significant impact on perceived hair health and thusly self-confidence and thusly the various different performances of your hair for your body. Now, at the microscopic level, each hair's variety in length, its color, its diameter, and even its cross-sectional shape. So say we were to take a hair and cut it in half and looked at it in a microscope, it may not be perfectly round. It could be elliptical or oval. All this variation creates those characteristic profiles across ethnic groups and among individuals as well. Many different hairs in your head can differ between each other's. I have largely auburn hair, red hair, but I have blonde strands, I have brown strands, and many of you can probably say the same. You might have a curly piece at the back of your neck and super straight towards your face. All of this creates your unique hair type. When we look at it more with a microscopic lens, we can begin to perceive the actual structure of the hair follicle. Now, when we look at the hair, we assess it in two different parts. That's the hair follicle, which is what is essentially growing from your scalp, and then your hair shaft. That is considered the dead part of your hair. It's essentially, once it has grown from this little bulb region here, it is dead. But as I said, it's still chemically important. It still has influence on a variety of different things. Now, as I had also mentioned last week when we went through the skin physiology, your hair follicle is actually part of the epidermis. As you can see here, the stratum corneum dips in and creates that area for the hair follicle. It's essentially known as the pilosebaceous unit. Now, pilo or pili being hair, sebaceous for that sebum gland that is around that hair, all working together to not only have hair strands protruding from the skin, but to successfully have it protrude from the skin and also to produce the sebum that is on the surface of the skin. Now, in this pilosebaceous unit, we have that hair follicle here and the attached sebaceous gland. Also, as I had mentioned last week, those sebaceous glands are actually going to create the sebum that comes out of your pores naturally, but it's largely such that that hair can grow smoothly out of the skin without being impacted or ingrown. So really the sebum's role here is accurately coating the hair follicle to let that hair grow out of the skin. Now, most important in this graphic is the bottom area here. This is the hair bulb. And now the bulb receives a cluster of blood vessels from the dermis. So now we're in that second area of skin that provide it with oxygen and with nutrients. And it essentially allows for the active supply and regeneration rather of skin cells. And these skin cells actually become hair cells and thusly hair. So the hair bulb is really where we're looking at the growth beginning. That is the essence of hair growth is very at the bottom of this bulb, which is here located in the dermis. Now, the growth of hair is very similar to the way our skin grows, for lack of a better term. The cells divide and they grow. They push the older cells upward and away from the blood supply, resulting in gradual cell death and keratinization. So last week, you may remember that was exactly the same thing we saw on the epidermis. You have those new cells differentiated at the bottom layer of the epidermis. They begin to move up and they start changing shape. They lose their nucleus and eventually they slough off as dead skin cells. Very similar here, but in this instance, when you have keratinization, you create keratin, and that is the major protein of your hair. So, in understanding the growth of the hair follicle, we'll go in depth a little bit more about the different phases of growth that your hair can be in at any one time. But the influence that you can have essentially on this hair growth has a couple of different pathways. Of course, it's important that you have that sebum producing to coat the hair. It's important that your dermal papilla is giving that oxygen and those nutrients such that those cells can differentiate and that the cells are successfully differentiating, that they're going through that natural cycle to harden and keratinize and produce the hair to even begin with. And of course, there are a variety of different diseases or conditions in which one of these things is disrupted and thusly causes either no growth of hair or poor growth of hair as well. Now, in comparison to the hair follicle here, to the living part of your hair, we also have, as I have mentioned, the hair shaft. Now, this is really the visible part of your hair. As soon as it comes out of your skin, it is now the hair shaft. It's made of cells that are no longer alive, that keratin that is packed together from pre-differentiated cells. It's composed of three main areas if you were to take a cross section of any one hair strand. The very center is known as the medulla, and there's really no understood reason for the medulla. There's no studied performance or impact it has on the hair, and certain animal and mammal species actually don't even have a medulla to begin with in their hair structure. We then have the cortex, which actually makes up the bulk of the hair shaft. It contains our pigmenting cells that give your hair its color. It also has some of the major bonds that influence your hair's strength and how you're styling it as well. And then the cuticle is that outermost sheath or shaft that really protects the cortex, also protects the medulla, although who knows if it needs protecting, but it really helps maintain that hydrophobicity of your hair, really keeping water out, keeping hair strong and tense and elastic, but also helping protect the various bonds that are contained within. Now, what's unique about the cuticle is that it is actually translucent, and so light penetrates through the cuticle, hits the cortex, and thusly reflects off the pigment molecules that you have within the cortex. The cuticle protects, the underlying cortex. It also acts as a barrier. It creates your hair's natural hydrophobicity, but it also gives luster to the hair and texture to the hair as well. So more often than not, when you have a hair care product, it's going to be targeting the cuticle. It's going to condition, it's going to refine those different shingles. I don't know why that sounds weird, but I think that's right. Shingles that are covering your cortex as well, making sure they're nice and laid flat so that your hair visibly looks beautiful and straight or shiny or perfectly curl aligned as well. Now, when we look into the cortex, there's a lot going on in the cortex as well. So, as I had mentioned, what's important here, of course, is the pigmenting molecules, but also the different bonds in the cortex. So, you have both weak and strong bonds within the cortex. The weak ones are mainly hydrogen bonds, but there's also what are known as van der Waals forces. For our discussion today, we're really going to focus on those hydrogen bonds. These are things that can be broken and reformed every time you shower or get your hair wet. They can also be broken and reformed every time you heat style your hair. So if you're someone that straightens every morning or showers every evening, in both instances, you are breaking a hydrogen bond, which it will later reform to create either a new shape or to create hair that is air dried or otherwise dried from that wet condition. So because you can manipulate these hydrogen bonds so easily, they are reversible in the damages, so to speak. So you're never breaking the hydrogen bonds in a way that is irreversible. Even if you, for example, have styled your hair with heat treatment and you've gone out and it's a humid and hot day and your hair begins to absorb some of that water, it becomes to get frizzy. Essentially, those hydrogen bonds are breaking and reforming to create your natural curl pattern again. Now, another bond that is equally as important within the cortex are your disulfide bonds. Now, these are irreversible if broken. And typically, you will break your disulfide bonds if you are bleaching your hair or coloring it in other instances. So this allows you for, once you break those bonds, to remove pigment from the hair or to deposit pigment. And so that irreversible nature of these breakages, so to speak, is so that you can actually perform the chemical process that you're trying to do. So it is not the end of the world, of course, to break these disulfide bonds. It is necessary to have these different treatments, but sometimes that can mean that you're getting a certain aesthetic concern with the breakage of these disulfide bonds, be it frizz or loss of hair strength or loss of shininess of the hair as well. Unfortunately, many hair care products will not address the cortex. More recent years, we've had new bond treatments come out. Some of you may know K18 or Olaplex. They directly tout that they can reform disulfide bonds, which is extremely novel, and there's still a lot to be understood how that is possible. But when we look at the hair shaft and entirely, understanding that the medulla is not quite important, and in our discussion today about Bodolab, we're looking at that cuticle. And when it is not properly aligned, hair can look frizzy or otherwise can look damaged. Water can also penetrate, which decreases the strength of the hair, can lead to more breakage, and you can also lose some shine. So we want these cuticles to be nicely aligned, as you see in this depiction here. We want to ward off pollution or UV rays or water as well to keep a nice and protected cortex. Now, as I had mentioned, our hair also goes through a hair growth cycle. We have our skin cell cycle and here the hair growth cycle. And there are three main phases or stages to the hair growth cycle. The first stage is anagen. The hair on your arms, legs, eyelash, and eyebrows actually have a shorter anagen phase and a slower growth rate. So that's why the hair on the rest of your body is much shorter than that on your head. But on your head, it can be a very long process to create those long strands that you have. It's really the quintessential growth phase, so to speak. So anagen equals growth. It can last from upwards of 2 to 6 years, even upwards of 8 years. And a majority of your hair on your head is in the anagen phase at any one time. Now, the catagen phase is when the growth has stopped and the hair follicle begins to detach from the bulb. The catagen phase is really a transitional stage. So it lasts, as I've mentioned, a few weeks, and roughly about 2% of your scalp hairs are in this phase at any given time. So as that growth slows down and the outer root sheath shrinks, so that's essentially right here is the outer root sheath. Oh my gosh, outer root sheath. It begins to shrink and move away from the bulb. It essentially detaches from the skin. And lastly, we have telogen. Now, telogen is the resting phase. It can last for about 3 months for the hair on your head, and it accounts for roughly 10 to 15% of the hair in your head at any given time. During this phase, the hair has completely and successfully detached, and it's just resting in the hair follicle. If you were to pull this hair out, it would reveal a dry and white material at the root. Now, in this consideration, if you were to pull your hair out at any given time, you can often see what phase it was in depending on the end of that hair. If it has that white material at the root, you know that it was already in telogen anyways. But if otherwise looks normal and healthy at the base of it, you might have pulled out either a hair that was still growing or, a hair that had just detached, such as in catagen. Now, in understanding the hair growth cycle, of course, a variety of different factors impact the growth of your hair. Vascular, endocrine, and neural stimuli, in addition to age, nutrition, your dietary habits. But your hair from your scalp sheds daily, which is also something to take note of. So humans lose approximately 100 to 200 follicles a day, and it grows roughly about 1 centimeter a month or about 15 centimeters a year. So in perceiving hair growth, of course, you have all these different factors that are determining how your hair is growing, but also you are losing hair naturally every single day. Now, in the consideration of the hair growth cycle, we also have the consideration of hair types. Now, there are many different ways to differentiate the different hair types, to classify it by curl pattern, the density, the color, the perceived health of your hair as well. If we were to go by hair density, you can see here that you may refer to coarse, medium, or fine hair. Now, with coarse, it's going to be, of course, the thickest hair. It's often more resistant to chemical processes, and it usually usually requires more time to complete such procedures, such as bleaching. Medium hair is, of course, that perfect middle ground. It's usually considered the standard to which other types are compared. And fine hair is the thinnest and is therefore the most fragile and susceptible to damage. But we also have hair color. Now, hair color is determined, of course, by the cortex, that's where the pigment is, but by two different types of melanin. There's eumelanin and pheomelanin. So eumelanin contributing dark brown or black pigment, and pheomelanin in contributing red or blonde. So for myself, I have a whole lot of pheomelanin going on, but again, that's how you get that unique differentiation even between strands on your own head. And you can thusly classify your hair not only by the hair color, by the hair density at the same time, and even by the curl pattern, all at the same time. None of them are exclusive to how you can classify your hair. Now, as I mentioned, you can also classify in the different groups of curl pattern. We have type 1 through type 4. There are more types since the establishment of these 4 types here, but you have straight, wavy, curly, coily. You can go 4A, 4C, 1A, 1B. So there are different even subcategories within the classification of curl pattern. And this is especially important to understand. Or they'll need specific products to address their unique curl pattern. As you can see here, some of these types of hair are able to be identified through the visible of the hair, how it is growing, how it is structured in terms of its cross section. So for example, here, when we look towards curl pattern as an influence to hair type, straight hair actually grows pretty much straight up from the follicle, whereas wavy hair and upwards to curvy hair, it begins to take on an angle beneath the skin that influences how the hair ultimately is going to curl once it comes out of the skin. Similarly, where am I going? Similarly, for the cross section of hair, if we were to take a cross section of straight or fine hair, it's going to be really a perfect circle. But as we get to those curlier or coilier hair types, it can take on more of an elliptical appearance in its cross section. Now, in the different hair types, of course, we really need to understand what everything is in terms of the hair type, be it the hair density and the curl type and the color, to determine a treatment plan for someone. What shampoo and conditioner and hair mask should they use? For example, even with coily hair, it's the most porous. And so porosity being your hair's ability to absorb and retain moisture. So does water interact with this hair type? Does it benefit or does it otherwise create damage? All of this is important to consider when creating a hair care routine and for us in creating a hair care brand. Of course, we have 3 products currently in our hair care line, and so we had to create something that satisfied a majority of these differences in hair types. Last consideration within hair physiology, of course, is the scalp itself and the health of it. So your scalp is an extension of your facial skin. It has the same typical 3 layers, has the same balance of the microbiome and of the different needs for hydration within the skin barrier. More recent years, it's become a trend of skinification of the scalp, in which you treat your scalp to specialized exfoliation or hydrating and serums to really treat it as if you are creating a skincare routine for it. Now, I follow many scientists who think skinification is silly because it's almost as if saying that water is wet, because of course your scalp is skin, should be treated as skin. Good news is that many products you've already utilized, especially if you're using the jourdäI brand, already treat your scalp the way it should be treated. You don't have to go out and buy specialized scalp products to really ensure the health of your scalp. But what's crucial is that your scalp is the root of your hair. And so it's necessary to maintain scalp health to have healthy hair growth as well. Now, similar to our structure last week, we'll now go over some common hair concerns, and also similar to last week, anything that is considered a medical dermatose, which even considers dandruff, I will leave for the discussion with, of course, a medical professional, as we are a cosmeceutical grade brand. But in that consideration, we do have a couple of common hair concerns. For example, dryness, dandruff as well, oiliness, and cuticle damage. Now, in my unique, selection of dandruff as a medical dermatosis. So for a specific product to say directly that it helps with dandruff, it must have a monographed active in its product to allow for that direct tested performance in dandruff. So you can identify dandruff as a common hair concern, but we're going to look at it more as a microbial imbalance or dryness that is causing flaking. So more of a cosmetic thing that we can address rather than this medical thing that needs a monographed active to reduce. But anyways, yes, so dryness, your hair follicles aren't producing that sebum on the pilosebaceous unit to really coat the scalp and the hair shaft. Dandruff, you might have a microbiome imbalance or intense dryness. Oiliness, opposite to the dryness in which your hair follicle is perhaps producing too much sebum, which makes it, seem greasy or heavy in appearance, could be due to hormonal regulation, even potentially to overwashing, or simply a product is not appropriate for your specific scalp type, and also notably cuticle damage. And this encapsulates quite a few different possibilities or sub concerns. So your hair shaft is either missing cuticles, they're not properly aligned, it is hydrophilic, if anything, and it's absorbing and holding onto water. It's weakened as such. It appears to be, stringy or otherwise inelastic, such that if you were to really tug at it, you could break a strand. It's dull, it's dry, or it even tangles. So lots of different things captured within cuticle damage. Of course, as I also mentioned, you have that cortex, but really with cosmetic formulations, we are looking to address the cuticle and really the scalp as well. And thus we come to Deserticola Plus. What is it doing for us? Now, the story of Deserticola as a patented ingredient for Riman is equally as beautiful as any of our other heritage ingredients, something that has been discovered and fully developed and evolved to really apply to human benefit in a product. Now, Deserticola comes from microalgae. Specifically, it's from Chlorella vulgaris. So if ever you were to look for Deserticola on the ingredient list of a Deserticola Plus product, you'll see it listed as Chlorella vulgaris and something. So essentially, scientists discovered this unique species of chlorella in the desert, and in understanding how it was surviving such arid conditions, they were able to break apart different extracts and found a specific metabolite known as loluolide. Once this was discovered, the Dr. Hee-Sik Kim, which he actually came to speak at our convention, if you were able to hear from him, but he's actually representative from the Korea Research Institute of Bioscience and Biotechnology, but also is a notable scientist at our Ask Labs. He was able to help concentrate this loluolide essentially such that Riman can utilize it as a personal care ingredient. And that concentrated form of loluolide is Deserticola Plus. Now, loluolide is known to interact with the dermal cells within the hair follicle to modify hair growth, but it also has anti-apoptotic and antioxidative properties. Anti-apoptotic means essentially it helps reduce or prevent cell death, which is apoptosis. And of course, antioxidant is so crucial because oxidative damage, the way I outlined it for your facial skin, can also happen for both your scalp and even your hair strands as well. Pictured here, I have some of the studies done with loluolide in the understanding of how it's influencing the hair follicle. We see here its direct interaction and influence on the hair growth pathway via specific signaling proteins as well. Here we see the effects of Deserticola specifically again on hair growth and a different study on human dermal papilla cells. So essentially, that's an in vitro study that it's not directly applied on a human, that would be in vivo, but we still use human skin cells, so to speak, to test its effects on hair inductivity. So the Deserticola is included in all three products, and it is really intended to not only maximize scalp health, but hair health as well. Now, as some of you may already know, in Korea, Deserticola and the products are tested and proven to reduce hair loss. In the US, in Canada, and I believe in Mexico as well, that's a strictly regulated claim. In the US and Canada, you must use a monographed drug to make such a claim, something like minoxidil. As such, we market that the Deserticola products help maintain hair thickness or hair density, which is an absolutely applicable claim and acceptable claim as well. Now, alongside the Deserticola Plus, we also have chlorella oil in formulation, and this is another, of course, microalgal extract from the same microalgae. It is so rich in phytonutrients. It has vitamins, chlorophyll, amino acids, minerals, but it's specifically rich in the chlorophyll, the biotin, and sulfur as well. So in its vitamin content, it's actually rich in vitamin A, which may help produce and also regulate sebum production. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, which are, of course, the building blocks for protein synthesis. And we have the chlorophyll for antioxidant care for hair protection. It also allows for increased protein deposition to the hair, and it is a natural conditioner for the hair to really make the hair seem shiny. Now, chlorella oil is additionally a powerful anti-inflammatory agent, which really helps again with the healthy hair growth from the scalp. So chlorella oil is a perfect consideration and ingredient for addressing both the scalp and the hair strands as well. Better yet, it's what's known as an upcycled ingredient. And so for those who are unfamiliar with upcycling, it's different to recycling in the sense that you use something that would otherwise be discarded waste and create something that is better than the origin material. So in this instance, we took chlorella waste, so byproducts from processing of the microalgae, and created something better. We created a unique and performing raw material for hair care. Also, in the products, we have wild olive stem cells. These are a natural plant material and they protect, reinforce, regenerate, and beautify the whole hair structure from scalp to the end of the hair shaft as well. So, really, the comprehensive approach to hair health in a natural ingredient. Now, the wild olive stem cells are rich in plant lipids. They also have antioxidant properties. They have excellent flexibility and allow for good dry combing of the hair as well as rather good wet combing. So, whether your hair is wet or it's dry, if you were to take a comb through it and it has this wild olive stem cells on the hair, it can greatly reduce the friction or the tugging that you would need to get through to the ends of your hair with that comb. And so, of course, in the consideration of these products, they are all proudly V label as well. And that goes for any Bodolab product, so the Swamel, as well as some of the new things coming very soon with some promotions coming. But with being certified V label, the V label is established in 1996 in Switzerland, and as of today, roughly 70,000 products from more than 4,800 licensees now carry the V label. So it's an independent organization. The seal is essentially confirming that a product was assessed and has been found to have no vegan byproducts or materials. And the seal can be earned anywhere. It can be, of course, on raw materials and personal goods, but finished foods, manufacturers, and even textiles as well. So our status as V label really means that each product in the Bodolab hair and body care loves your skin, but also loves the planet. And that is not to say that that's not true for all of the Riman products, but we went through that extra step with the V label for the Bodolab hair care products specifically and the body care as well. So now we'll take a look at directly the 3 products within the line. Understanding the different hair concerns we have identified, that dryness, the oiliness, the damaged cuticle. Yes, those ingredients I've identified can have great promises for helping with those concerns, but also the complete formula really aids in the variety of different aesthetic and health concerns we might have with both our scalp and hair. Now, the jourdeCola Plus shampoo, first and foremost, really is meant to gently cleanse the scalp and strands while also nourishing it. So the surfactants or cleansing molecules used in formula are very gentle. If you're someone that has very oily hair, you have a lot of hair or thick hair, you might want to go in twice with the shampoo to completely clean the hair because it is such a gentle formulation. Yes, it is meant to perform as a shampoo to cleanse, but also it is meant to aid in that maintenance of healthy hair density, to aid in the maintenance of healthy hair growth. And so we're really looking to remove the buildup of oil and debris, but to still deposit key ingredients at the same time. Now, with the utilization of the jourdeCola Plus shampoo, if you're someone that suffers from dry hair or dry scalp, this is a great solution because it is so gentle. And if you're someone even with oily hair or oily scalp, you can still utilize this just twice or more times through to make sure that you're removing all of that excess oil and perhaps even to rebalance the scalp such that you don't really have an oily phenotype in the future. With the partnering conditioner, that's where we're really seeing the benefits in the damaged cuticles, but also in the dryness and hydration of the hair. Now, in the conditioner, we have the same key ingredients, the chlorella and the wild olive stem cells, the deserticola as well. And it's really meant to fortify the strands, condition and repair the damaged cuticles to leave that healthy shine. What's unique about our product, of course, is that it is water thin until it comes in contact with the water in your shower or bath. Essentially, what happens with the formula is that there is a dissolution or dissolving of specific ingredients in formula, and this dissolving is actually an exothermic reaction. So when water comes in contact with some of these key ingredients in formula, it releases heat as those ingredients dissolve, warming the product up slightly while also creaming up slightly at the same time. Now, if you want the benefits for hair thickness or hair density, it's important to utilize the included nozzle to directly apply the conditioner to the scalp. If you're someone like myself, I'm just looking for conditioning. I applied it from the mid to the ends of my hair. And because it is water thin, I find it easiest to bolster my application by putting a hand beneath a chunk of hair and applying it that way. Now, because of the key ingredients in formula and because this formula is a conditioner, it's meant to deposit a bit more on your hair versus the shampoo, which is largely meant to be rinsed away. And it has a higher surfactant concentration, thus that the shampoo molecules are going to bring away some of those key ingredients. Here we have conditioning polymers, which are meant to bind to the hair and stay there essentially. So you're really helping refine those cuticles, really seal up those different shingles if they were like essentially roof shingles, to really seal them up and to reduce the hydrophilic nature of a damaged hair, but to also increase that shine, reduce that frizz, all the things we're generally looking for in aesthetics with your hair care products. And to really seal the deal, we of course have the hair oil serum. This is a 5-in-1 finishing serum. Not only does it provide heat protection up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, but it reduces frizz, increases shine, maintains volume, and it seals those damaged cuticles as well. Beyond the ingredients we've just listed, it also has giant byungpul extract, which nourishes the strands and also helps in repairing hair damage as well. So key about this product is it isn't necessarily to be applied on the scalp. It is really meant for the aesthetic benefits and for the protective benefits, especially with heat treatment. So it's going to be really the mid to the ends. If you perhaps have already applied it from the mid to your ends, or you start at your ends and work your way up, whatever is remaining, you can always apply to the surface of your head as well. But we just want to make sure that we're not giving that greasy appearance to the surface of your head, which may happen with any hair oil serum. Now, beyond the byungpul as an additional ingredient for the hair oil serum, this product uniquely has what's known as C-Plex. C-Plex is a fantastic ingredient. It's derived from macroalgae or from seaweed. It's rich in amino acids and peptides, but it was specifically designed to be included in bleaching treatments. Now, if we understand bleaching to be one of the most damaging treatments you can do for your hair, this allows for the addressing and benefiting of many other hair types that are even less damaged. So all of that frizz control and shine increase and cuticle maintenance really helps, or comes in part rather, from this C-Plex as well. So all those different hair care concerns with the dryness and the oiliness that can be addressed with those in-shower products. Outside of the shower, we can also have the hair oil serum to address the cuticle damage and also just the overall beautification of the strand as well. But each product has a purpose within the routine to look at your hair comprehensively, to look at its healthy growth, and to really help you maintain that growth over time as well. And that is it. But of course, as I had mentioned, I had to provide a recap because there was a lot going on in our discussion. So there are two main features to your hair strands, that of the living part being your hair follicle and the dead part being your hair shaft. In your hair follicle, your cells are constantly differentiating to produce new strands. It's comprised of a bulb which anchors that hair follicle to the skin, dermal papilla, which are providing nutrients and oxygen to the bulb, and melanocytes, which are producing that hair pigment. Your hair shaft, or the dead part of the hair, is still chemically alive, but it extends from the scalp, and it's comprised of three main layers, being the medulla in the center, the cortex surrounding, and the cuticles protecting the cortex on the outside. Your scalp is an additionally important component of your hair health, has the same structure of your facial skin and the skin on your body, functions the same as well, and it needs the same balance for not only healthy skin and feeling and comfort of the scalp, but also for the hair growth as well. While there are multiple different pathways for hair issues to arise, we chose to focus on ones that we can directly speak to and address with the hair care products. So things like dryness and dandruff, oiliness and cuticle damage as well. Dandruff, of course, with the understanding of a microbial imbalance or dryness specifically, nothing addressed directly with a monographed active. Specifically with cuticle damage, this encompasses a huge consideration of various different hair concerns, be it frizziness or breakage, tangling, or dullness or dryness, and all that good stuff. So oftentimes your hair care treatments will look to address the cuticle and will look to address cuticle damage specifically. So in the creation of the Bodolab Deserticola hair care products, we utilized a collaboration with the Korea Research Institute of Bioscience and Biotechnology to patent an ingredient known as Deserticola Plus, which is a 12 times greater concentration of lolylide and algyl metabolite to nourish both scalp and strands. Natural extracts like chlorella oil and wild olive stem cells offer additional benefits of moisturization, conditioning, nutrient deposition, and damage repair as well. Now, a Deserticola Plus shampoo not only cleanses the scalp and strands from both macro and micro impurities, but it helps to begin promoting healthier scalp function and balanced strands. The conditioner really comes in to not only reinforce that maintenance of healthy hair density or of thickness, but to begin the reparation, I don't know if that's right, the repairing of your damaged cuticles. Even if you don't have damaged cuticles, just really keep making sure that they are the utmost shiny and the utmost brilliant and resilient as well. We also then have the Deserticola Plus Hair Oil Serum, which is a 5-in-1 finishing product for a variety of benefits. Heat protection up to 450 degrees, reduction in frizz, a maintenance of style volume, damage repair, and shine enhancement as well. Unique to this product as well, I forgot to mention, is that the hair oil serum can be used anytime. Towel dried hair, air dried hair, hair that's been styled, hair throughout the day, even right after you step out of the shower. However, with that one, of course, oil is hydrophobic, and so it's going to absorb less into the hair if your hair has a lot of water that it has absorbed while you're in the shower. So I typically like to apply my hair oils after my hair is air dried a little bit. So always something to consider, but HQ tested it with direct application after you've stepped out of the shower and found that it provided the same benefits. So entirely up to you. But that is it for today, everyone. I know it's a little bit of a lengthier and more in-depth session, so thank you as always for your attention. And as promised, here is our outline. Feel free to scan the QR code. We are dropping the link in the chat as well, and I'll pause here for those who want to scan it to grab the outline now. All right. So you might have been seeing our trajectory. We talked about the ICD, we talked about Bodolab and Deserticola specifically. So what could we talk about next week? And if you're guessing Swamel, no. Unfortunately, we're talking about the Lightening line and specifically the Deep Talk Plus and the Beauty Collagen EX. Swelma was kind of lumped into our hair physiology, or excuse me, our skin physiology discussion in session 3. But join us next week as we explore the supplement category, beauty supplements as well. What are they supplementing? What are you deficient in to begin with? And how our products are designed for the support of your beauty from the inside out. And of course, gentle reminder, session 7 is going to be our Q&A, if it'll come up. There we go. So please continue to email in your questions. I've gotten quite a few good questions so far, but I want more. I want us to have a robust discussion. So please email into ritual@riman.com by May 11th so that it gives me a couple days to collaborate with HQ on any that I don't directly have the answer for. Of course, always use this email for anything. If you have a customer concern, an ingredient inquiry, I am always here to help you out. But please also title it to Product University or Q&A session so I know not to directly answer your question. That is all for today, everyone. So thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate your time and attention. As I've mentioned, I can't believe we're already halfway through Product University. I know that it has taken some time out of your days. I know you might be getting ready for bed or getting ready for your day, but I so appreciate you getting ready to better understand your remod routine. And with that, I will see you next Monday. Talk to you then.